Hello, welcome back to Scrappy Loom Sewing. I'm JC Joellen, and today I'm working on a block that I'm calling a quarter square triangle block. It's also called an hourglass block, but when you use it as an hourglass block, you use two different prints or two different values of color to create an hourglass design. And I'll show you some samples of that. I'm not using it that way though, but I'm going to show you what the traditional block is called. It's called an hourglass block, and this is what it typically looks like. This is a mild contrast. I mean, there's very little contrast here, but you still get the design. There's the hourglass shape. If you turn it this way, you get the hourglass shape in the other color. And that's why it's called the hourglass block. Here's another one with more contrast to it. You've got the striped hourglass. And you've got the hourglass with the gray background. So that's why it's called the hourglass block. However, I'm using it today with four contrasting prints. And, not contrasting, but four prints, all of similar value, to create a hodgepodge of color. And these are the prints I'm using. If you can see that they all are different but alike. I've got the heart print. I've got this Christmas print. I've got this whimsical print with circles. And then I've got this whimsical print with multicolored frogs. But they all blend. They look kind of like the same print or the same colors in a different print. And here's the way it's traditionally used as an hourglass block with a very contrasting print, light and dark. And this is how you would typically use it as an hourglass block. But the way I'm doing it, it blends all the colors together, sort of like a calico print. Calico design. No two blocks are exactly alike. I shouldn't say that. No two blocks are exactly alike, but no two colors of the same are put together. So I'm always putting two different colors together in a seam. And you can see none of these are together side by side. None of these are the same side by side. And that's how I wanted it to make kind of like a collage of color or a hodgepodge of color. And I use jewel tone, so they're pretty much the same in color value. There's a slight difference, but not a whole lot. So it kind of blends into an overall design. And that's what I wanted. So to get started, what I used was two 10-inch squares. So this would be a great design for a layer cake. Here's my heart and the Christmas design. I put them right sides together. And then I used another two squares. This gives you a set of 8 blocks. And there's my whimsical circle and my whimsical frog. So I put them right sides together like this. And then I'm going to take them to the machine. I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch around, all the way around the block. 1/4 inch around each block. Each set of blocks. And that gives me 2 sets like this. And these are sewn together. You can see the seam there. And then what I would do is take these blocks, press them down to set the seam. These are already pressed. And then I would take them each and get my rotary cutter and my ruler. On the diagonal, I'm going to cut straight through the middle. This way, and then the other direction. I'm going to do that with both sets, which gives me 4 half square triangles. For each 10-inch square set. So I end up with 8 half square triangles. And then I'm going to take these over to the ironing board, and I'm going to press these to what I see as the dark side. So I'd go to this side. Anyway, I'll press these open like that, pressing the seam to this side. And you do the same thing with the other block. Once that is done, you end up with four of these and 4 of these. So you end up with 4 blocks like this with the frog and the circles, and you end up with 4 blocks like this with the Christmas print and the heart print. I'm going to press these open. And once they're pressed open, you end up with blocks like this. 4 of these, 4 of these. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to do the same thing, but just once. I'm going to cut it diagonally from corner to corner across the seam. So you wouldn't cut it this way. Not along with the seam. You want to go across the seam. And so I would take this, make sure I'm going from point to point, and cut it like that. And I do the same thing with this. I do it with all of these half square triangle blocks. I will cut diagonally across the seam. Then I would take these blocks, so I've got sets like this, and I've got sets like this. So I end up with 8 pieces like this and 8 pieces like this per each 10-inch, per each 2 double set of 10-inch blocks. So I took 2 10-inch squares here, 2 10-inch squares here, and I end up with 8 of these segments by the time I slice them all up. And then I'm going to take these and stitch them together. 1/2 from each block. And what I would do is I'll lay these face together, right sides together. Matching up my seams. I'm going to do it this way so that my seams are nesting. Makes it a lot easier. Put my seams together, get them to nest. Put those seams right up against each other. And then once I've got them nested, I will pin the seam there. And usually I'll put 2 other pins in at each end. One there. And one at this end. After getting them lined up nice and straight. And I'll pin that like that. And I'll do that for all of my segments. And then I'll take them to the sewing machine and I'll stitch a 1/4 inch seam down here. Down the middle there. And we'll open it up and we will have our 1/4 square triangle block. So it ends up looking like this. Only other thing you have left to do after that is I take it to my mat and I line up the seam, one of the seams with the 45-degree angle. And then I match this seam here I match one seam up with my 45-degree angle. And then I'll match this seam up with the corner of one of the squares. So it's perfectly diagonal on one of the squares on the mat. And then this ends up being a 6-inch unfinished block. And then once it's sewn together, it's a 5.5-inch finished block. So you just make as many of those as you need for the size quilt that you want to make. Keeping that seam lined up with the 45-degree. And I'm cutting it at 6 inches all the way around. And then my final block is a 6-inch square. A 6-inch quarter square triangle square. And that one's pretty straight, but it's still a little teeny tiny bit I could level off there. And there's my block. Now I'll just take these blocks after I've got as many of them as I need. And I will put them together, making sure that I don't put two prints of the same together. And that's how simple it is. I could put it this way, or I could put it this way. But I would not put it this way. And that's my quarter square, triangle square. Now here is the quilt that I made using that block. And this is going to go to my brother. I wanted to have a masculine feel, so that's why I used the jewel tones. And this is what it looks like. I think it's beautiful. He's already seen it in this form, at this stage, and he likes it. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's simple, but really nice, really interesting quilt to look at. I wouldn't recommend it probably for a first-time quilter, but maybe for your second quilt, because you do have a lot of seams you got to match up. But other than that, it's easy. So I hope you enjoyed that. That is my quarter square triangle block. And it makes like a calico design, and all over calico design for the quilt. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time. I think I'm going to do a log cabin block on the next video, so I hope to see you then. Have a great day. God bless you, and much love. Bye-bye.